Many thanks for still staying with us. Don't forget, this is still New Day on Signature TV, and we want to hear from you. So I invite you to go on over to our social media platforms, go like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend at Signature TV Official. Well, yesterday was International Women's Day. A day used to celebrate women's achievements globally and, of course, advocate for gender equality. Well, still in the spirit, we have a very good friend to the station here, back in the studio. We want to understand the role of women in national development, well, from a man's perspective. So don't get thrown aback when you see a man talking about women, right? We want to see what the men think about the role of women in national development. Sir Martins Ani is a leadership expert and a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Martins.
Good morning, Chigi.
Always a joy. Always a joy.
It's a pleasure to have you once again.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
I'm not.
TV.
I do not mean to flatter you, but there are some guests that you see, and you just know for a shorty that you're going to have a splendid time.
Oh,
absolutely.
Interesting to know I'm one of them.
Yes.
Thank
Indeed.
you, Chigi. Thank you, Signature TV.
All right. Thank you,
for
Signature
the opportunity
TV.
to be here.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about women's role in national development.
Okay.
Right. It's been a long time coming for women from the pre-colonial era, pre-Civil War era, even down to contemporary society. Could you just, as much as your memory can muster, take us through the historical trend of women's contributions to national development in Nigeria?
Thank you so much, Chigi. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here in Signature TV. I want to commend Signature TV for the wonderful job they are doing in national development and shaping public opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, just by way of starting, I want to say that the topic for today's discussion is very apt, is very and most auspicious, especially given that yesterday, 8th March 2025 was International World Women's Day. So it was a day set aside to talk about the women. It's not as if the men are not important anyway. So I seize this wonderful occasion to say a happy Women's Day to all the women of the world
and
who
on
are
behalf
making
of
us
all
proud.
the women, thank you very much.
Starting from my dear mother, Mrs. Victoria Ani, to my lovely wife, Lady Barrister Chinenye, then to my wonderful sister, Nenna Luge, Mrs., and then to my lovely daughter, Chimamanda Ani, and then to you, Chigi. God bless you all for the wonderful job you are doing.
Thank you for giving us the enabling environment.
Sure, and that is why we are celebrating you, though it belatedly by yesterday today, then all the same yesterday and today,
sure.
We are still there. So talking about the role of women in national development is, just like you stated, it takes us back to even pre-biblical times, Just this morning, I was going through the scriptures and I read Numbers 27, and then the daughters of Zelophehad. If you read Numbers 27, you get the whole story. Daughters of Zelophehad, they came to Moses and then told Moses that their only son, or their dad didn't have a son, and that all the relations have taken all their landed property, and that he should give them their inheritance.
The inheritance that was promised their father.
Exactly.
But because there was no
son to continue in the lineage, to carry on the business
strong
of the
women.
family. Exactly. So those strong women, we commend them for drawing God's attention to that. And then Moses, as a good follower of God, as a good leader, took the matter to the master, who was the Yahweh himself. Yahweh was the name. God was called pre-biblical time.
Yeah, we didn't know him as father. We didn't know him as Abba. We knew him as Yahweh.
So he took it back to Yahweh and said, God, this is a matter that has been brought to me. How do I go about it? And then God told him and Aaron, or the priest, exactly. And God told them, they are making a genuine, germane request. Go ahead and give them what would have been their brothers unto them, so that the family name can be moved to the next generation. So what are we trying to say? It looks as if, from creation, God didn't factor women into the affairs. The world is God's, but the earth he has given to the sons of men. And then when you hear the sons of men, you also begin to see a gender, disparity in the, even though it's generic. Today we say every man, woman is a man. But at the same time, sons of men. And everything is about the men or the man. And then inheritance also followed suit. That when a man, especially in our traditional Igbo cosmology, when you don't have a son, it looks as if you don't have a child. You don't have a child. But then, I think it was in Psalm 127 that it says, children are the heritage, children are the gift from God. Maybe you could get other gifts, but you can't mold, you can't form a child. Whoever tells you you do one charm or the other, then you get pregnant, all those things are gibberish, So God actually gives children. And I think he recognized both the man and the woman. But from the way, we were structured ab initio at the outset, it looks as if the women folk were not given opportunity to thrive. And then, but for what God did, I believe God must have said, oh, I must have made a mistake by not factoring women into inheritance.
I want to take you on that, but that would be deviating. But I'll still ask you this question. Okay. I'll still ask you this question.
So I want to take it, we'll take it up to the national
Let me ask you this one question. Now, you say it seems as if women were like an afterthought. But the Bible says in Genesis 1 that he created both male and female in that man. Yeah,
but then the order of priesthood, the Aaronic order, the order of priesthood was actually given to the man.
There has to be a leader.
And then, yes, there has to be a leader. But then, remember,
but women were not an afterthought. That is what I want to.
Well, yeah, okay, let me agree with you.
She was there, but she was inside of the man.
Exactly. She was, the woman was taken out of the rib of the man.
Yeah,
remember,
so they needed to give her expression so that she can do her work, which is why we are here.
Sure, that's why you are here. And you are, of course, taking over in all spheres of human endeavor. I give it to the women. The women are very courteous. They are very, they want to carry themselves with so much, respect and dignity, knowing that they are somebody's wife or they are somebody's sister and all that. So, but from the creation, you find out that when Christ fed 5,000, there was no mention of the woman. They said, as people ate the total number of 5,000.
They counted the men, excluding
the women. So what I'm trying to say is that even in all that, even during a census, when Jesus Christ was about to be born, and they were going back to Nazareth, taking that journey backwards from
Egypt,
the Herod's negative influence, who actually wanted to kill the Lord. So when they were going back, they did census and the women were discounted. So actually, it's not as if God didn't have that, but we need to place it on the marble clearly that from creation, it has been a battle, for the women. And that's why the Lucifer women I talked about in Numbers 27 had to be bold and courageous to approach Moses. And they got their inheritance.
And you notice Moses didn't chase them away before asking the Lord, saying, you are women, you don't have any portion.
Because he knew their point was very valid. And then God told him, go ahead and give it.
So let's
taking it off from there to national development. Yes. The women have been very wonderful.
Let's take the pre-Civil War.
Then biblical. Then, of course, let's leave the Bible. Yeah, we're in a very large society. Even when you go to the Asian region, you find the Hindus, you find the Buddhists, and all that. In the Hindus, the women are only to be known under the supervision of the monk. But thank God, from same India, we had Indira Gandhi at the time,
Yes.
becoming the
Indira
prime minister.
Gandhi, yes.
Yeah. So in spite of all the structures, that are pro-men and, all the biases, against the women, but today, we thank God because of modernization, we are living in a world, that wants to project, that wants to have a gender balance, where the man should be respected for who he is, and the woman should be respected for who they are. And then God has given all of us equal opportunity to end unequally. Of course, the other day I was in Lagos, just talking about the role of women in national development. I was in Lagos 2 weeks ago, and then I was at Ikeja. I needed to find my way to Agidingbo area of Lagos. Then they showed me where I would enter a body bus. When I got there, lo and behold, the driver was a woman. Wow, I said, immediately within me, I said, wow, this is Lagos, a state of opportunities and possibilities. So I didn't have any mixed feeling that the woman would drive me safely, because if the woman can learn how to drive just like the man, why not drive better? The important thing is, have you been put through the tutelage? Have you been put through the training and all the ethics and stuff? And then we had our way, because the women are more focused. They are thinking about their children. They are thinking about their husband. So there won't be much mishaps if the women drive us. Same for national development, yeah. Same for national development. The woods we find ourselves today is as a result of the women not being subjugated and
let me ask you this.
Relegated
let me
to
ask
the
you this.
background.
Every era,
Okay.
you've talked about the biblical era, pre-biblical era. We're still going to talk about contemporary Nigeria. That every era, they come with their own peculiarities and challenges, especially for women in this context.
Yeah.
Now, do you think the pre-Civil War era, women in those era, do you think they had it easier, given their own peculiarities and challenges, than women in our current era? Because when you think of Queen Amina, Ladi Kwali, you know them.
All
these contemporary. The first woman that drove, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti. There's so many. Queen Amina, right?
Exactly.
Do you think they had it easier? Even the Aba Women's Riot. I don't think they make women the way they did in those days.
Well,
so do you think they had it easier?
No. There was never a time life was
or
easy.
We are having more challenges. That is why we don't have more of those strengths in women.
Life is full of challenges, and that's why the Bible recorded that in this life you have trouble, but be of good cheer. I will be with you to the end of time. And again, you find out that there is never any dispensation that won't face their peculiar challenges. They face their challenges then. You know the history of Queen Amina. You know the family she came from, family of warriors. You know how the father supported her, and then she became what she became. So the challenge then has not ceased, except that it has been tweaked a little, here and there. The digital age, the internet world, today you go to you Google and they say, or you go to YouTube and they say, show me how to be a nagging wife, and some people will go learn and begin to nag. Today you say, tell me how to be.
Why would anybody Google that?
You Google everything, and then you learn everything. You also unlearn in the course of learning. So the point is that they face their challenges, medieval, medieval, and the modern time. Everybody. So the challenges then were different from the challenges now. The challenges then was that women actually accepted the backseat. Most women accepted the backseat. And that was why they couldn't do what Queen Amina did. Okay, let me tell you about this story. A colleague of mine and a friend of mine, the other day we were talking, and she told me that while growing up, that the father would not allow her ride a bicycle. Because she believed that she wouldn't do it well, or that she would get injured. But the siblings were all riding bicycles. And then she wasn't comfortable. Then lo and behold, she went outside, learned how to ride. And then one day she was riding home. And the man say, hey, woman, come and see your stubborn daughter. She want to kill herself and stuff like that. But why would she kill herself since she have learned the ropes? Since someone had told her, okay, sit on, hold the bike, then, pedal it. And then, well, why wouldn't a woman do what a man can do? Yeah, well, both created equally with equal energy, except with physiological features. But the genetical makeups are the same.
There are no female brains and male brains.
Exactly. What a woman can do, thinking out of the box, a man can do as well, and a man the same way. So what are we trying to say? The lady, to further shock the father, went out, learned how to ride a motorbike. Motorbike this time around. And she actually rode home one day. So what are we trying to say? Today she drives a car. So just because, so what are we trying to say? The stereotyping needs to end. The sexual violence against women needs to end.
We'll get there.
Because, sure. So in national development, women have done us so much proud. And then I want to leave the old time so that our audience won't think we are just staying with history.
Yeah, let's go
in the contemporary times, we have wonderful women who have done us proud in Nigeria. We have Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. We have the former Minister of Finance, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. We have the current IMF president, who is not, even though Lagarde, even though not Nigerian, but we are talking about globally. Women are doing very well. And then unfortunately, you will get to know that in our national development, in our national life, the woman hasn't become a governor, except by accident. In the case of, okay.
You're very passionate about this one.
Governor Etiaba.
This is my interview. So allow me to drive this interview. You're skipping way ahead.
Yeah, so in national development, we really need to get women on board. So salvage us out of the woods we are in currently. Because it looks as some of us, the men, are thinking, weird that we have forgotten the fundamental, things that should be done, which is providing, making life more meaningful. Yeah, and growing the society to be better. So I believe that the women has not been given their pride of place in our national development. And that our national development is suffering today. Because even currently, look at the current makeup of the Executive Council under President Bola Tinubu. You can't find
about
the women
3.something%.
The critical ministries over there are not headed by the women. Look at works. No woman is there. Look at agriculture. No woman is there. Look at industry. Okay, I think industry, you have a woman. Look at very, very key, So the stereotyping should end. The belief that the women have not, come, they have not risen to
mature
the level. Exactly.
Enough.
They have not matured enough to handle responsibility. Should end. We're all created and we don't even know who will save us.
No.
Just like when you have children, you don't even know amongst your children who is going to be the best.
Who will be the savior?
Who will be the savior of the family, or who carry the name of the family beyond your expectation.
True.
So give them equal opportunity, even from your home. Respect them.
Yes.
As you respect them at the regional level, at the national level, at the international level, and then let's have a better society that is not wired for the men,
it's not skewed towards
against the women. Yeah, but everyone has equal opportunity.
Yeah, because we're still talking about previous era and now the challenges, the peculiarities in terms of giving women the opportunity to thrive. Yeah. And you've also mentioned certain challenges, religious, biases and cultural issues that keep women down, right? Then there was this issue in those days, like I mentioned to you, in those days of Queen Amina and the rest of them, they didn't go to school.
Sure.
Women were not allowed to go to school. But that is not the issue now. You have more women in classes than you have men. What would you say is the most pressing challenge the women have now? And I'll say this, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
Although women are known to occupy education, maybe even ICT, media, women are there in classrooms. Thank you. Women are there.
Yeah.
But women are nowhere near where the power is. Just like you said.
Okay.
There are about just
Exactly.
4 women in
Exactly.
the Senate of
Yeah.
108.
Yeah, exactly.
In the National
109.
Assembly where there are
109.
360,
60, yeah.
I have only 16 women.
Okay.
Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think
Yeah.
women, is it like a calculated scheme to keep women, well, you guys can progress to this
The
level,
point
but
I'm
beyond
there.
this, don't go there.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay, that's just to dive into the question, straight on. Don't forget the 35% affirmative
Affirmative action.
Yeah, that was actually intended to project the women beyond where they are at the moment.
How is it working out?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Under President Goodluck Jonathan, he tried to implement it. He domesticated that policy kind of. It's a UN proposal. He domesticated it, or protocol. He domesticated it and then actually applied it to the extent that he was very cautious, in giving women positions. And that was why Obi Ezekwesili played a role, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala played a role, and where they are today. They are all international personalities doing us proud. And then quite Amina, Zachary also of Vice President of United Nations. Yeah, she's currently the Vice President. She also played a role under UNDP. I think she was what do they call it? Something DG goals. Remind
Sustainable
me.
Development
SDG.
Goals.
Yeah, she headed it at the presidency, and then subsequently, I think she headed the ministry also. So what are we trying to say? Currently, like you mentioned, just very few of them are the lower house, and then also a few.
Fewer.
So it's a case of they're struggling on their own without. That's why we really need to give the women a helping hand, because they originally, traditionally, even from God point of view, they looked as if
Was
they were
that
not
really
giving.
God's point of view or man's interpretation of God's point
God's,
of view?
okay, whichever way you see it. So they were not actually given their pride of place from the onset.
From the onset.
So it looks as if, and that's why we are talking about, International Women's Day, how to remove the biases, how to give women opportunity. So we need to actually meticulously implement that 35% affirmative.
Across all levels.
Yes, across national, local, and the state. By way of saying, at the local government council, during the elections, 35%, at least let's start with 20, and then progress, And let's say, out of 11 councillors in a local government, where I come from, for instance, then let's say 3 over 11 should be women. And then, for instance, Makumbudi could produce a woman this time. Some other time, it will move around, and then it will be...
Are you saying this prophetically?
Yeah, it will move. Because, like I was saying, there's no difference between what we can do. We both can do. We both could go to school.
Intellectually, that
exactly.
is.
We could go to the same class under the same environment, but you make 2-1. If you make first class, I could make 2-1. And then it doesn't actually count when we come to
in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. In life affairs, it doesn't actually count. But then intellectually, you could be better. That's why we talk the IQs, different social IQ. And so what are we trying to say? The women should be supported to make at least 35, even if it's not 35, but at least 20%. Then same for commissioners. Same for local during elections. The women should be supported. Some states should support women to fly the flag of their parties, and then some rather political parties should support women to fly the flag of their parties, and then that way they could emerge as governors. But as we speak currently, in Enugu State, where we are, which of the parties gave a woman their flag to fly during last election? I'm sure it is none or zero. Even if there is, it could be an unknown party where the woman may not even emerge. So what I was trying to say, when you look at except Adamawa, where Benani, the controversial candidate that was announced by INEC as the winner, ahead of due process, blah blah blah, which they went to court, and then the current governor took over. So when you look at it, you see that generally speaking, all over the country, across the states, the women has not been deliberately given opportunity to see. And that's why even at the presidency, it looks as if, it will take us hundreds of years for us to produce a woman president, since we haven't gotten a woman governor except by chance.
Right.
Anambra, Etiaba, and other. Then we have Banda, former president of, is it Malawi? Banda also.
Really?
Yeah. Then we had Salif of Liberia.
Of Liberia.
But after these two, I don't think we've made progress in the last decade, even regionally within Africa, and then, of course, regionally within West Africa. It has always been the men's world.
There's something you keep
and that's why they say the men's world,
Well, it's God's world. It's God's world,
yeah.
Really.
Everyone has a role to
Everybody
play.
has a role to play.
Yeah, whether man
So
or
you
woman.
keep saying women need to be supported.
Sure.
You even buttress the fact with the story of Queen Amina, that had brothers, had warriors as brothers, had a father that kept pushing her, and so it's needless to say that it's really important that there's a male figure, behind most women, that were behind most women that did so well. Absolutely. Now that is men supporting women. There has to be a husband or somebody a brother or a father. I can tell you personal stories of that playing out where the men behind the women came out and things were right? Now this is men supporting women. Let's talk about women supporting women. Do women need to support one another to aid national development? And how has it really played out in Nigeria?
Of course. If someone has come from another community to support you in a battle, how will you feel? If your sisters or relations or siblings are not
those of your constituency,
something.
They don't.
Just like what is playing out in the National Assembly or the Senate. You find the women for docile. Especially senators of the women structure. The women senators, they look as if don't mind this woman.
Even an ex-female senator came out to call the lady.
Call her out.
Call her out and say she's childish. Exactly. The house is meant for mature minds.
Exactly. So the point is this. I don't want to go into what is playing out at the red chambers, but then what we are saying is that whatever it is, they should resolve it in the interest of national development, because a constituency shouldn't be losing, their representative for upwards of 6 months. It's unheard of and it's not acceptable. So, but then the women should rally around theirs first, even when the person is wrong. They should rally.
Almost have made a mistake.
Rally around her. Try to see if they can bring her inside the room, just like in the Igbo traditional setting. If someone else, just like you have a young lady who takes in, outside marriage, the first thing is to call her in, then call your colleagues in, come together as women, form a block, form an association, without which you can't go nowhere, because already you are marginalized, and you want to come to the mainstream. There's no way you come to the mainstream if you're having an intra-crisis amongst yourself. So, of course, the only way the women can make a headway is to, first of all, unite, so that the support coming from the men will now be easier. But when the men are throwing in all the support, and then you're having internal squabbles, there will be cataclysmic consequences, because you can't go nowhere with such wrangling. So what we are trying to say, the women should unite. They should applaud those who are doing well amongst them. Don't begin to say, who is she? Some people, they like to throw tantrums. Once it is not them, no other person is doing well.
Women are very good at
exactly. They're jealous,
envy,
emotional, envious. So they should remove all those bad habits. It doesn't help, the women food, to become what they want to be. So as the men are throwing in the support, the women should also be united.
I've heard someone say something, and I agree 100%. You see this issue of mentoring.
Yeah.
You see men who have reached the echelon of their whatever profession. They try to form, even if it's online, a forum where they bring up
issues,
yeah,
common issues
others.
common to them.
But it's hard for you to see a woman who has reached a particular zenith, try to
Yeah,
bring
still,
other younger girls,
exactly.
together, except for
Mentally.
very few. There are
Okay.
very, very few of
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
What do you think is the way forward? Aside the fact that you said, okay, they should rally around each other, support each other. What was that spirit in the Aba women that brought them together?
Yeah.
Even in the face of, death.
Death, yeah.
What was that ingredient that is lacking in our modern women?
Oh, yeah. What actually prompted the Aba women to display such brevity and courage in the face of danger was that they saw that their people were being annihilated. I mean, life was miserable for their people, and that there was no need living in their comfort zones while the state burns. So they had to take that bold step to display that kind of protest against the state. And of course, when you are faced with such brevity, you will lose you can't do nothing.
But we still have injustices everywhere in Nigeria. Why are women not coming together?
The women cannot protest the way they protested during Aba women riot.
Why?
But there are other ways. There are modern ways to protest. This is an internet age, this is a digital age. The women can always call themselves, but the challenge is this. Something has happened to protests in Nigeria. So it looks as if it is being gagged. It looks as if democracy, which we know is that promotes rule of law, has taken the back seat. And that's why it looks as if, you must get permission from police commissioner, you must get permission from this and that. How can you get permission from a government functionary? Yes, to carry out a protest. There was a time I was in Switzerland, and then we got to Geneva, and then I saw one field. I've forgotten the name. There was a broken chair. This very kind of chair we are seated on. The two of the legs were broken, and the chair was hung this way, upside down. And then I was like, what's wrong with this? What kind of artist does it? So they told me that is a protest ground. So it means that something is amiss and that people are free. So why wouldn't people be free to express their displeasure over happenings? Why would there be kidnappings all over? The other day I had in one of the states in the north, there's a military or security agency went to disperse protesters who are protesting the incessant kidnapping along a certain northern route. So why would you do that? You should rather take action to stop such ugly incidents instead of taking on the protesters. You know what happened during the last protest? Then so many people were killed. NSAS, from NSAS to the other one. So when they talk about protest today, if you're a mother, will you be comfortable under this kind of democracy? Are we really practicing democracy, if we may ask, where people cannot go out and say, I no go agree, and then end it there. So then they will tell you, hoodlums will hijack it, don't do this, don't move beyond this. Sometimes they also sponsor the hoodlums to come and do the dirty jobs and then put it on the peaceful protesters. So the challenge is we've not gotten our democracy right. The tenets of democracy, a lot are missing in our indicators, indices of democracy. So we need to work on having a true democracy and practice it so that people can be free to say no to the rape that is going on, the gender violence against women all over the place, even though we are nowhere compared to what obtains in some other places, countries
like
of the world.
India.
Exactly, India and the other. But then, at least people should be able to come together and say no to some of
evil.
this.
All right, so let's narrow this thing down to the Igbo community.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Umuada.
Okay.
Umuada is a very strong force, strong social force in the Igbo culture. How has the Umuada, ideology, how has it, pushed national development forward, especially within the Southeast?
Well, the Umuadas used to take an important place in our Igbo cosmology. Unfortunately, modernization has eroded quite a lot. You know, those days you hear that a woman, let me just use the word, beat up the husband, for instance. Let me just, it's not that
Yeah,
it's
hypothetically.
commonplace. Yeah, the woman beat up the husband. Then the mothers will show up and then take action immediately. Take all the woman's belongings and take her out of the house. And then she's out of the man's house.
Wait, mothers are
Yeah.
are they wives or
They're
they are
wives.
daughters
No. They are wives
married into?
sorry, they are daughters.
Okay.
They are daughters.
But they can
married-
come from their husband.
Sure. Once
can
hear,
converge.
exactly. They, of course, they have their meeting times.
Okay.
You know, maybe during Christmas, they come from wherever they are married from. Once there is an incident,
So they
need to take
institute
action.
justice.
They immediately execute justice. You know, so, but then today you may not actually do that because you might be violating someone's fundamental human rights. And it will be the danger of a single story, according to Chimamanda
Chimamanda.
Adichie. So you may not just, you know, and then the Umadas believe that, oh, their brother is right. So you need to place it in proper perspective so that a woman, an allegation may not be put on a woman and then you take action. Because the woman will quickly, under the contemporary time, go to court.
Go to court.
And then get all of them arrested. So that's why it looks as if they are taking a back seat because, you know, the law is there. First of all, the next they say go to police, they go to court, don't take laws into your hands. So the Umadas may not actually do that currently. So they are taking their time. You also have the elders, you know, when there are issues, the elders, you know, the elders, they intervene and then take action. You know, but then someone will go to court and still challenge the same action. For instance, you're having issues about land. Who owns this land? There's a tussle over a piece of land. And then the elders meet and say, this land we know from time immemorial belongs to Mr. A.B. And then Mr. Z will feel that his right has been violated. He will go to court. And then no matter the court will stay execution and nothing will happen on the matter until the court decides. So, but during those era, you know, during those era when we were all evolving and life was at the primordial stage, you know, those settings actually worked because in the first place, the elders won't tell lies. Because if the elders tell lies, you know, they say, what will happen to them will start from the eye, you know. But today, we see people banding monies around. They want to get a chieftaincy title, or rather, they want to become a traditional ruler. When it's actually their own turn, for instance. They'll go and send some envelope, send some bags of money around to the elders, and then they will say something else. So what are we trying to say? The contemporary time, the modern age, has taken away some of these, you know, the powers that some of these organs had in the society.
Right.
And that's why everybody now goes to court, you know, to avoid, you know.
And you know this issue of inheritance.
Exactly.
The court has already granted the women access to their fathers.
Of course, they have used the court to get the inheritance as we speak today. But in those dispensations, it's only when a father was alive and he gave the daughter an inheritance that the daughter can stay with the inheritance. They will say, oh, Papa Anyi nyeremia, Neana Papa Anyi nyeremia, and nobody will do anything about it. You know, but today, of course, they can go to court and get their right. But then I advise that the Igbo man should treat both the male and the female child equally. And if God has blessed him with properties, he should share amongst them so that everyone will have their inheritance. And in that way, they will know they had a father. Even when their husbands might be doing well, but then they will always remember their father for this property. They will say, oh, my father gave me this. You can write your will or you make it clear to the boys. Look, we are all one. Whatever I have when I leave belongs to both my daughters and my sons.
We've run out of time. Okay. I wish I had you longer. I always say it. Now, as a parting shot, let's go back to the story of the daughters that gathered themselves and went to Moses to get their father's inheritance. what lessons can you draw from that singular act of courage so that you can advise, our modern day women very fast in 2 minutes?
In 2 minutes, I want to say the women who are in a toxic marriage should speak out so that they are not killed in that marriage. Some children, daughters who have been raped and by their dad and told don't talk, should speak out. That is evil. That's what the Aba Women Riot taught us. Don't keep silence in the face of evil. So the women should speak out. If you are in the school and a lecturer is abusing you because you're a woman, trying to deny you what you are supposed to get and positions you are supposed to get or score or grade, speak out so that the world will hear. And then people are ready to take action. But if you don't speak out, you could die in silence. And that would be my advice to the women, because it cuts across whether you are married or in school or even in the workplace. A boss is taking advantage, trying to deny you presentation,
and then intimidate you on top of it.
Yeah, so you should speak out. The much that will happen is that either you are relieved of your job, but the world will hear you, and then you could get somewhere better instead of staying there and then, either your talent, is dying, and then you are not making any progress.
I knew we were going to have fun in this discussion. Sam Martin, a leadership expert and a public affairs analyst, always doing justice to our subject matter. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you, Chigi. Thank you, Signature TV. It's a pleasure.
All right. Thank you for still staying with us.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.